Hey guys, it's Lovely Mess here. We're dropping the curling iron and the bang cutting. We're going to talk about the big message that we're trying to really get across on this new adventure we're taking in the new year. So I got a message or a comment about transparency and how refreshing that was. And it's just so nice to hear stuff like that, because when you're being transparent, you obviously are revealing your insecurities as well. So to get good feedback on that is always a positive thing. Ultimately, it's about the bigger message, though. The bigger message is so much more important than my insecurities at this point. It's so much bigger than me. So I wanted to talk about something that you deal with in recovery, which is support groups and 12-step. And I wanted to see if we kind of can relate in some of the things that I'm talking about when it comes to being a part of these groups. I had attempted to actually get into a support group in 12-step prior to actually going into rehab. And I was trying to get sober. I was full blown in my alcoholism and I wanted to get help. But like I said, I didn't know what to do. So, I thought, well, why don't I try going to a couple of meetings? Unfortunately, I couldn't even stay sober at the fucking meetings or before the meetings. I was going to the meetings drunk because I was drunk all the time. That's the only reason why. Nothing, I wasn't trying to diss the support group. It's just that I was trying to hear the message and I was also still struggling at the same time. So I remember while I was there, one of the girls had come up to me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, how long have you been sober?" And I was like, "How long has this meeting been?" Which is horrible. But it was the truth, and I said I was still working on it. And then I went to go get help, I think like a couple months shortly after that. And some of those support groups would come in and talk at the panel. And, like I said, I heard some really great stuff about it wasn't about how many treatments you had gone to, or, nobody can motivate you to do it except you. You got to make the choice, same stuff. But, it was a couple of these people had done this several times. People relapse constantly in their addiction, okay? And that's what I am trying to put out, this movement of us battling our addictions together, right? That could be a movement too. And so I kind of had decided at that point though, like I didn't know if 12-step was for me, because I'm a pot smoker and I have been, and I wasn't planning to give that up. And so my therapist was like, "Well, that's going to be frowned upon and you're definitely doing 12-step. And I was like, okay. So I got out after the 30 days and I did go to, obviously you have to go to meetings. That's a part of the, to show that you are serious about your sobriety, which yes, you got to be around other like-minded people when you're recovering. And, I got the big book and I was going to these groups and I was processing, how I felt and, how new I was. I was only at that point like a month sober and then 2 months sober, and I was getting my chips. And, I wanted to go and venture to different support groups. And, some of those support groups is like, that's not a good idea. You need to stick with one support group so you can get the friends and the camaraderie, because you need to get your sponsor and you need to start working the steps. Like, have you started working the steps? And I was like, no, and it's been like 2 months. I haven't started working the steps. And I didn't really want to. And, oh my God, okay. But, I'm going to keep going to the meetings and I know that I'll find the sponsor and then I'll work the steps, right? Right. So I was continuing to go to the meetings, but I still wasn't working the steps. And me and the other girl who was there, who was also not working the steps, were like, man, I don't know if really this is for us. Like, I see the support groups are wonderful and they're a good option for people. Absolutely. But we were just kind of saying, maybe it's not for us. And is that okay? Because when we were in there, they're like, well, what are you doing in your recovery if you're not working the steps? And, and if you're working the steps, you're not even working the steps right, and, the right way. You don't have a sponsor. You're not doing this right. I mean, to the point where it's like, you might as well just be drinking again, bitch. That's how it was feeling. And I was like, wait a minute. I am fucking like 3 months or 4 months sober. I should be damn proud of that, whether I'm working the steps or not, okay? And so it really started to put it into perspective for me that, you know, if the 12 steps wasn't for me, maybe that's okay. And no one was going to make me not feel proud about being sober. And why was I feeling guilty in my sobriety? I mean, come on. I had worked so hard to get sober, and I couldn't even really be proud of it because of the fact that, you know, I'm not doing it the right way. Like, what? Who is to tell you what the right way to get sober is? Nobody. And that's the thing. And those support groups are wonderful places for you to be able to be around other like-minded people who are, you know, suffering from the same thing that you are. But, you know, if you decide that something else works better for you, you should not be shamed for that. And so, you know, what I started to do was kind of pull back from the groups. And instead, I started to work on my body and, you know, changing my eating habits, eating healthier, getting control of my carb addiction. Because, you know, you take one away, boom, the next one just wants to jump right on top of you. And then I started kind of, you know, I was losing a little weight. I'm still working on it, by the way. And I did do keto, so I'll talk about that in another video, of course. And, you know, I was then doing meditation, even though I thought meditation was not for me, and who meditates, and that's lame. And, you know, but I started to force myself, and I was like, this feels so weird. Like, you know, but I realized that all of those things were working for me, okay? And because it was something that I could do. So what I'm ultimately trying to say is, you know, do what works for you. There are so many people who are complicating sobriety, okay? Whatever works for you, you do it. And don't let anybody tell you, oh, you're not doing it this way. You're not, you know, doing it right. You're going to, don't. They're all, that's a hypocrite. You know, these people are supposed to be out there supporting you, right? But if you're not doing it their way, then it's not good enough. And that's unacceptable. We're not dealing with that. Absolutely not. We are going to do what works for us. We're going to be proud of it because we're awesome and we're doing what we need to be doing. And whether that is going to a 12-step, okay, and support group, whether that's going to work out, doing your meditation, going to church, you know, going out and sharing your message by volunteering and giving back, whatever you are doing that is working for you in your sobriety, be proud of that, rep it, promote it. You know, this is what it's about. It doesn't have to be about one specific way, okay? You can be an individual in your sobriety, okay? And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit more moving forward. I wanted to get that off my chest. I know it's a little bit more of a touchy subject when it comes to these support groups. And I know a lot of people have different opinions about them. So please share your opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about myself. And it's because you guys are actually giving me feedback and showing support. So have an awesome day, guys.